Good morning, Julie. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. I'm super excited to learn about your career path and how you got to the position that you're in today. So just thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me and participating in the CIWB mini interview initiative.
Thanks, Sam. Great to be here.
Thank you. So let's just start off with what is your current position and can you talk about how you got there today?
I am the executive director of the Arts Foundation of Cape Cod. We're here in Hyannis, right on Main Street, actually. And before I got here, what did I do? My career path took many different directions to find where I am today. And I used to beat myself up about it, but now I look back and I'm like, all the things I did, I have been able to bring to my position today. And so I did everything from, I worked in tech out in San Francisco and in Boston during the .com boom and then the bust. After that experience, I decided to come back to Boston and I went back to school for architecture. So I have a degree from Mass College of Art and Design and Architecture. And after that, I started working as a designer for some local developers and architects. Nice. And I found that I didn't love being behind the scenes. I didn't love sitting on the computer and drawing. I loved everything I learned in architecture, but I thought I could apply my skills to other things, such as, social justice around housing, advocacy around how important the arts are, how arts impact, families and children, and how our community is really built around cultural differences here on the Cape. So to me, it was, when I look back, it's easy to talk about it looking back, but at the time I was like, oh God, I really don't like this. And so, I went into, I got a great job as a marketing and communications director for Housing Assistance Corporation. Okay. But before that, I had done some part-time work with the YMCA Cape Cod as a marketing person, as well as Barnstable Senior Center as a marketing person. And then when the job was available at Housing Assistance Corporation, it was a full-time job and it was a leadership role. And I just went for it. And I applied all the things I learned about housing and, how it's really important for community to have, stable, decent housing for everyone. I really dove right into that and I was there for 5 years. And then as things were evolving, I really wanted to do my own thing, and the Arts Foundation of Cape Cod, the executive director position opened up, and I applied for it, and it took about 6 months to the interview process was long. Wow. And so I've been here now for over 6 years. Yeah, it's been interesting, to see a place that, before COVID and then, during and I don't even want to say post-COVID because we're still kind of lingering COVID, but it's been an interesting journey to get here. And so, my background with helping families, helping seniors, and in the health and human service sector has really been able to kind of inform me on how important the arts are. So I'm here today.
That's awesome. I love that story of how every step and position you took along the way kind of made you realize where you wanted to be in the end. And I think that's the whole purpose of a career path, that you get to learn all these new lessons and skills to see where you want to end up in the future. And so you mentioned before you were in tech. So when did you realize that you wanted to find a position in the arts? Have you always been ingrained in the arts? And when did you first express that interest?
I've always been involved in the arts. I would say my first experience with the arts, I grew up, first of all, I grew up in a very blue collar, hockey playing, very male environment, and arts and culture were not a everyday thing from where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I moved to a new school from 5th into 6th grade. And the very first day, there was a trip to the Boston Ballet. And one of the, I mean, this is in the olden days where you could just like throw a kid on a bus and they have to go somewhere, you know, nobody was like, where's the permission form?
Yes.
So it was my first day and they were going on a field trip. And so one of the parents said, why don't you give her my ticket? I won't go, because I was going to end up at the school by myself all day.
Okay.
I'll never forget it. So, yeah, this parent said, you take my seat. I got on the bus and I didn't know anybody. And so I remember sitting on the bus as a 6th grader being like, where are we going? The Boston Ballet? Like, what is going on? Like, what is this thing? And so we get there and to the Opera House, and I can remember the smell, the heavy red curtains and gilded kind of architecture walking through that building, and then sitting with new friends in the audience, and hearing the ballet slippers slide across the floor. And I get chills thinking about that moment of being like, this is for me. Mm-hmm. Like, mm-hmm. These people are so good, and I can't believe I've never seen this before. And so it was a really kind of interesting moment when I think back. I do connect other things. I come from somewhat of a musical side of mm-hmm. my family has some musical. I have no musical talent, but I was exposed to, some music. But when I think back to that ballet moment, I always have to be clear when I tell the story, it's not like I wanted to be a ballet dancer. Yeah. It was that performance, I just ate it up, and it just, kind of, I soaked it up and brought it with me forever. And I thought, this is really special and it's really important.
I love that. I love that that moment still sticks with you, and that it was kind of, as a 6th grader, it was like this come together moment for you. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, this is the sector I'm supposed to be a part of.
Yeah, there's a whole, it was a real change in perspective that this wasn't a hockey game.
Right. Right.
This was really delicate and beautiful and special and what a rare opportunity for me at the moment. Yeah. Was such a rare opportunity. So, yeah.
I love that. Almost everything happens for a reason, because that parent gave you that ticket. So, hey,
She created access. Created access. Yeah.
Exactly. And so did you grow up on Cape Cod? Like, what brought you to the Cape and to express your interest in art here?
So I grew up actually in Rentham, for the outlets. I always have to say that. Yeah. That was a big sand pit that we used to run around and play in when we were little. Yeah. And so I grew up in Rentham, and my parents moved to the Cape a long time ago, and I eventually followed them here and have been here for, I don't know, since 2004.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nice. Yeah. Awesome. And kind of switching gears and going back to the Arts Foundation, what are some ways in which young adults can become connected to the Arts Foundation of Cape Cod?
Well, we have a really great internship program. We hire about 2 interns every summer. They start around the May, June timeframe, and they're here through August. And it is usually a really enriching, engaging opportunity for young people to see what arts administrators do. We're a little bit different than running, we don't run a venue, a concert hall, or, a theater. We're really advocates and philanthropists here at the foundation, where we raise money in order to reinvest it back into the creative economy through grants and fellowships and scholarships. We do have a big event every year called Pops by the Sea. Hopefully it will be back in 2022.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And there's great opportunity for volunteering. So people can volunteer if they, are not ready for internships. There's a volunteer opportunity for a very large scale event that happens in August. So those are ways you can connect with us.
Okay, great. And you mentioned the creative economy, and we all have heard how important it is to the region. So are there any specific events or activities that you would recommend to someone who may be new to the area or visiting the Cape?
Sam, it's such a good question because I get this question a lot.
Really?
It's really, yeah. And even I've had conversations with established artists who say, I wish I knew what to do when I moved here as an artist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we have lots of conversations about this, like how do we engage people more? How does the emerging artist connect with what's going on in the community? And because we are so, there's so much opportunity to engage, we have about 276 arts nonprofits here between here and the islands, from Dukes County to Barnstable County.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of places to engage and to meet up. So it's not always easy, but what I always recommend is just no matter where you are in your art, you have to continue to do workshops, seminars, find out who the real established artists are. We have who teach workshops. We have some great cultural institutions that provide amazing opportunities for, to up your skills. And so places like Castle Hill are internationally, known for, their teaching artists. Same with the Provincetown Art Association and Museum. Get involved in our local residency programs like the Fine Arts Workshop, the Fine Arts Work Center down in Provincetown. There's lots of different residency opportunities. And I think if you really want to throw yourself into being an artist, those are the things you have to do. You can't sit in your house and say, I want to be an artist, but not engage. You have to get out there no matter what. Mm-hmm. One of the things that the Arts Foundation does, it's really important for us to build a cohesive network of artists and of all mediums. And so we have a program called the Creative Exchange. And, unfortunately, the in-person stuff kind of paused for the past 18 months, but we are diving back into that and looking at how we can start working in person again together. So that's an opportunity in the future. We also have 3 seasons of a podcast series where we talk about this. It's called the Creative Exchange Podcast. Yep, and it's right on our website I think it's under events. And so it's the Creative Exchange Podcast series. And we spent 3 seasons, and we're going into our 4th season, talking to local artists about what inspires them, where they work. There's one interview with a group of artists that started a kind of a consortium of artists that work together here in Barnstable. And so it's just really interesting. If you're a visual artist, you could be listening to a writer and be like, wow, those are really good habits I'm going to get into, Right. So every time I have the opportunity to talk to artists, I'm always like, God, I just learned something completely new about, my process. Like, how do I apply what they're doing to my day-to-day? Because it sounds a lot healthier or more productive or more creative.
Right. Well, I love that there's a robust number of opportunities for the artists to take part in if they're new to the area and start building their network and learning some creative ideas from other artists in the community. So that's fantastic. And what if someone who isn't an artist, but they want to support the creative economy in the region? What would you say to someone who is looking to do that?
Oh, we always say buy art.
Number one.
Number one, buy art. attend performances as much as you can. There's a local institution nearby. Wherever you are, there's something going on. So start to engage on, what's going on in your area. Many of these groups, I would say all of our big groups have Instagram or Facebook pages where you can, see how engaging these groups are. We have everything from theaters to, museum collections and exhibit galleries and museums. So there's plenty to do. So it's really just, finding your area of interest. They're also, these groups are always looking for volunteers. They're always looking for board members and committee members. So really get engaged and see, try out a bunch of things. If you really want to be part of the arts, we need board members, we need volunteers, committee members, that sort of thing. And then especially if you're new or you're new to the creative sector, it's a great place to meet like-minded people who are, interested in the same things. So.
And now we know, unfortunately, the arts community was devastated by the pandemic. And excuse me, in your role, have you seen positive ways in which individuals have come out of this devastation? And if so, do you mind sharing for those who might be still struggling?
Yeah, I'm looking over here because I have a list of COVID. Yeah. I made a list the other day. I was reading an article about COVID impact to the sector, and thinking about artists who are actually, or who have actually been able to continue to do their art. Lots of musicians took advantage of the live Facebook opportunities and did lots of private concerts and those sorts of things. And as well as the visual artists, they've been able to do some pretty interesting things. There's an artist on Instagram that I follow, and she's a really great painter. And she does these specials where I think she normally paints in acrylics and oils, but she'll do these little simple watercolors. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to do 33 of these today. They're going to be $33. So if, she puts them in her stories, and you can,
oh, gotcha.
33 little watercolors for 30, so she's,
how cool.
I don't think it's about the money for her. I think it's about engaging her audience, right? So she's really elevated the way she's engaging with community. And I have a feeling she probably has a following that spans the country and not just Cape Cod.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've seen. The most positive thing from COVID is the ability to expand your audiences and your reach. It's really a unique opportunity right now. I think all nonprofits, no matter what sector you're in, our products, you're able to really kind of get a broader audience. However, my little list here, everything needs to be elevated. Like there's no more, we're just going to throw it out on Facebook and see what happens. There's so much competition right now that you're competing with not only other artists, but you're competing with things that people can do from home, right?
True.
People are used to watching movies from home. Why should I go to a film festival if I can watch it from home? So things need to be elevated for these experiences to get people to be like, oh, I'm going to go to that because it's really special, And I think elevating it is making it authentic and organic, and not throwing lots of glitter on it, but really deliver what you promise.
True.
So those are the things, we're seeing social media presence, real community focus is an advantage, and digital responsiveness, ease of ticketing. So, upping technology. A lot of our cultural organizations got some granting to do that. And so I think as we go into the future of theater and performances, we're going to see better experiences, the lighting, the sound, stage design. I have a strong feeling that our groups are really going to elevate and innovate what they've been doing, building on what they already had, and making things even more special.
It's funny, you said three words that kind of stuck with me: the elevating, but also, so these artists had to adapt to this virtual transition that the world just took upon kind of quickly. You know, social media was always there, but now it's just enhanced, and now everyone has used it in a more innovative way. And I think that's what the artists have done, is they've adapted and they're engaging their community partners, and then they've just elevated their services in so many new creative ways. So I love that. And you also touched upon so the advocates at the Arts Foundation and how these artists are mentors to other artists. So have you ever had a mentor yourself? Do you still have a mentor?
I do not have a current mentor, but I'm always looking for one.
Perfect.
No, I feel like I've had many over my career, and I love tapping into how people think and work, and how they navigate the day to day. You know, I'm not a working artist. I am, and I would say I'm a creative worker, working in a, you know, the art sector, but I definitely find my energy and inspiration through other leaders or artists that are doing things like I mentioned, the creative exchange. You know, there are people that are just so just working through and navigating things that I'm just like so impressed by. I do want to mention my daughter has a mentor, and who is an artist, and it's really changed her work. She's only 13, but she works. Yep, she's been painting with a local artist for many years, believe it or not.
I love that.
She's always painted with the ladies on the weekend with, you know, portrait paintings. Yep, and now she's like really good, and
that's awesome.
You know, she's just so dedicated to it, and her mentor is also very dedicated and very proud, and so it's changed the way she views the world, the way she views herself. So I've seen the impact of true mentorship, you know.
Absolutely. And I think too, how you mentioned how you don't have a mentor right now, and it's, some people may look up to you though, like, you know, so you might not have that physical mentorship where you meet on a weekly basis, but I think we all have that one role model or people that we look up to each and every day, and it could be someone new every day. So that's awesome. And to hear about your daughter's story as well, it brings me back to our artworks program and how each artist is a mentor to those high school students. We learned about the importance of mentorship with young adults. What would one piece of advice you would give to a young adult in the arts or exploring any sector on the Cape Cod?
I got really good advice recently, probably within the past, I would say the past 5 years, and it was kind of life-changing.
Wow, okay.
I've been so obsessed with trying to learn something that I was really not interested, not that good at. And so I really was pushing myself to get better, and I started to like let the things that I was really good at kind of go by the wayside.
Okay.
And someone said to me, why aren't you investing in the stuff that you're really good at? Why aren't you putting more time and energy into all the things that you love, that you're excellent at? Why the Arts Foundation hired you in the first place? Why are you so focused on these things that like other people can help you with? Wow. And so it was really like, I thought it was, you know, instead of beating myself up over, you know, not being strong in an area, but recognizing like, wow, I'm actually really good in this area, but I shouldn't just be like, oh, I'm really good at this. I actually like think about what the area is, and I invest more energy into the things I'm good at to get better at them.
I love that. Wow. I love that. So I think that just puts to the point of, you know, don't always stay and get stuck on almost like the mistakes or something that you're struggling in life, you know.
Right.
There's always a support system, but there's always strengths and weaknesses too in each individual, and pulling on those strengths and skills only makes you overcome your weaknesses. So that was great advice, Julie. And that wraps up our mini interview. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me and sharing your story of your career path. I know this is going to be great guidance and insight for all the students and a great resource to them. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.